sure that. Okay, great. Hello, my name is Magdalena Ponurska. I am the Director of Operations at the Montessori School Rochester in Rochester Hills, Michigan, and a co-founder of the Global Montessori Network. Today, I have the privilege to talk to you about what it takes to lead during the time of crisis, such as COVID-19. What kind of leaders we need to be to inspire, to build communities, to lead authentically. Before becoming part of the Montessori community, I spent 15 years working in the corporate world, and part of my corporate journey was working in the space of human resources. And I also got an opportunity to train and become an executive and leadership coach. Working with leaders from different walks of life and different backgrounds, industries, and cultures, I've always wondered and have been fascinated with the idea of what it takes, what makes a strong, inspiring, authentic leader. And I think this question is even more pertinent during the time of crisis. Leadership is lifting a person's vision to high heights, the raising of a person's performance to a higher standard, the building of a personality beyond its normal limitations. It's a quote by Peter Drucker, one of the most influential thinkers and writers on the topic of leadership. This quote really resonates with me because it reflects the mission and vision of all leaders to stand for others' greatness in a way that no one else have done before. And this is the opportunity that we got to do, especially during the time of crisis. Today's presentation is based on Daniel Goleman's extensive work on leadership, social and emotional intelligence. As you are listening to this presentation, listen through the filler of, as a Montessori leader, what can I bring to my school, my community, my families that will make the biggest difference? How do I listen and how do I stand for everyone's greatness? So let's get started. One of the primary tasks of leaders is directing others' attention. But to do it well as leaders, we must be able to focus our own attention. These days, that's very difficult. As I'm sure you are experiencing, constant onslaught of information leads to sloppy shortcuts. Just reading the heading of the email, subject line, skipping voicemails, memos, reports. I know I'm guilty of that. We think that we are reducing the distractions, but these habits actually make us less focused. So what great leaders should focus on? People commonly think of focus as directing your attention to one thing while you are filtering out other things. However, research shows that we focus in many different ways for different purposes. The various types fall into the three broad categories. The first two, focus on self and focus on others, help us to develop our emotional intelligence. The third one, focusing on the wider world, can improve our ability to devise strategy, innovate, and manage our organizations. Fortunately, we can become more focused leaders with the right kinds of exercises. Focusing our attention on ourselves involves self-awareness or getting in touch with our inner voice. This is where emotional intelligence begins. It also involves self-control or willpower, which allows us to put our attention where we want it to and keep it there despite the temptation to wander. Self-awareness. Self-awareness has two aspects, two components. The first one is interpreting, but not blindly following what your gut or your inner voice tells you, so your intuition. This means paying careful attention to various psychological signs, your heartbeat, your breath, and so on. The more closely you read them, the better you will use your intuition. Here's an example of a study done by a British research group. What they have learned when analyzing interviews with 118 professional traders and 10 senior managers at 4 City of London investment banks was that the most successful traders, those with annual average income of £500,000, didn't rely on just their gut instincts or analytics. They focused on a full range of emotions when judging the value of their intuition. When they suffered losses, they acknowledged their anxiety, became more cautious, and took fewer risks. In contrast, the least successful traders, whose income averaged only 1,000 pounds, tended to stick with their initial instincts, ignoring their anxiety. They made poor decisions because they failed to heed a wide array of internal signs. So ask yourself again, in your school, in your community, when you are making financial decisions, are you taking into consideration the full array of your emotions? Being authentic. The second aspect is authenticity, or being the same person to others as you are to yourself. This involves paying attention to what others think of you, particularly people you trust. The focus that's critical here is open awareness, in which we broadly notice what's going on around us without judging, censoring, or tuning out. Leaders who aren't accustomed to receiving this type of feedback may find this difficult. Matching your view of yourself with how your most trusted colleagues see you is a good way to check your authenticity. And there's a whole plethora of research and discussion on what it means to be an authentic leader. And I think that's a presentation or a webinar that we'll also eventually offer. So now if you quickly glance at these letters and numbers, so glance at them and then look away. How many numbers are in there? When you look back again, in scanning the stream, many people will notice the first number, the number 4. But after that, their attention blinks. Those firmly in open awareness mode will register and notice the second number, the 2. Like a camera lens, we can focus expansively or narrowly. Open awareness is a matter of attitude adjustment, taking things in and being willing to lose a certain amount of control. Now let's talk about self-control or willpower. Everyone at this point is familiar with the marshmallow test. So the scientific term for this is cognitive control. Studies show how powerful self-control is and how important it is to success. In what became known as the marshmallow test nowadays, research gave 1,000 children, all born in the same year, a choice between eating 1 marshmallow right away or getting 2 if they waited 15 minutes. Those with cognitive control to hold out for 2 marshmallows grew up to be significantly healthier, more successful financially, and more law-abiding than those who hadn't been able to wait. That's the findings. In fact, statistical analysis showed that a child's level of self-control was a more powerful predictor of financial success than IQ, social class, or family circumstances. However, based on my own experience as a leadership and executive coach, I will share with you guys that some of the most successful leaders that I work with, they did admit openly that they would not wait for 15 minutes and they would eat their marshmallow right away. They like getting the sugar rush right away, and that just helps them to be more creative. So again, you can take it into consideration and think about yourself and how you would respond to this study. People show good self-control when they stay calm in crisis, tame their own agitation, and are able to recover from defeat. This is very pertinent to what we're going through right now as leaders. You can strengthen yours through simple games like Simon Says, which I'm sure everyone is very familiar with, red light, green light, or any exercises in which you are asked to stop on a cue. Research shows that getting better at playing musical chairs helps children strengthen their prefrontal wiring for cognitive control. It's never too late for us adults to strengthen those circuits as well. So this is your opportunity to play some more musical chairs if you choose to. You can also try daily session of mindfulness practices. Focus on your breath, focus your attention on your breath, and try tracking your thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them. Whether you notice that your mind has wandered, simply return to it and return to your breath. It sounds very easy, but if you try for 10 minutes, I would say if you try it for 5 minutes, you will definitely find there's a big learning curve. I know there was a big learning curve there for me for sure. Take a look at these arrows. In what direction is the middle arrow in each row pointing? This is called the Erickson flanker task. And it assesses how easily we get distracted. When giving this test in labs, researchers measure how quickly people perceive which way the middle arrow is pointing. Differences as small as thousandths of a second can be detected. The stronger your cognitive control, the less distracted you are by the arrows that are surrounding the one that is facing right. Focusing attention on other is required to build, focusing attention on others is required for empathy and building strong relationships. Leaders who do this well are very easy to spot. They are the ones who find common ground, the ones whose opinions carry the most, the ones others really want to work with. They often emerge as natural leaders regardless of title of position. There are three distinct types of empathy: cognitive, emotional, and empathic concern. Cognitive empathy is the ability to understand another person's perspective. Emotional empathy is the ability to feel what someone else feels. And empathic concern is the ability to sense what another person needs from you. From being in the Montessori community for a year, I found that Montessorians excel in all of the three areas. Cognitive empathy enables you to explain yourself in ways that will resonate with others, a skill essential to getting the best performance from direct reports. It requires you to think about feelings rather than feel them directly. Cognitive empathy is an outgrowth of self-awareness. The same circuits that allow you to look at your own thoughts and monitor the feelings that flow from them help you do the same for other people's thoughts and feelings. Emotional empathy springs from the parts of the brain that allows us to feel fast without thinking deeply. They mirror others' emotional states within our bodies. When I listen to you telling me a gripping story, my brain literally matches up with yours. This kind of empathy is important for effective mentoring, managing clients, and reading group dynamics. You can tap into the emotional empathy by focusing on your own internal echoes of someone else's feelings and maintain an open awareness of the person's face, voice, and other external signs of emotions. Empathic concern is closely related to emotional empathy. It is the ability to sense not just how people feel, but also what they need to hear from you. that's exactly what you want from your doctor, from your spouse, and of course, from your boss. Empathic concern is double-edged though. You feel other people's distress intuitively and quickly, but then you deliberately weigh how much you value their well-being because you don't want to be flooded by other people's emotions. It's definitely a tricky balance, and sometimes you need to distance yourself from others in order to stay calm and help them. And I think especially during this time that we're facing, that is very important. The more distracted you are, the less you can cultivate the less you can cultivate the forms of empathy and compassion. Leaders who excel at building relationships and influencing people can intuitively read social context, pick up on implicit norms, and behave in ways that put others at ease. That ability is connected neurologically by the ability to map personal connections in your organization and knowing whose opinions matter. Research suggests that as people gain power, their ability to perceive and maintain personal connections tend to suffer. One study found that leaders consistently focus their gaze less on lower ranking people and are more likely to interrupt or monopolize the conversation. Research also shows that this plays out over email. The longer it takes person A to respond to person B, the more relative power person A has. Map the response times across an entire organization, and you'll get remarkably accurate chart of social standing, according to the researchers. The boss leaves emails unanswered for hours, and those lower down respond within minutes. Leaders with a strong outward focus are able to exercise those two skills: strategic thinking and creative thinking. They tend to be visionaries who sense the far-flung consequences of local decisions and imagine how the choices they make today will play out in the future. Take, for example, Bill Gates. On 60 Minutes, Melinda Gates remarked that Bill was the type of a person who would read an entire book on fertilizer. Why fertilizer? Charlie Rose wanted to know. The connection was obvious to Bill Gates, who is constantly looking for technological advances that can save lives of massive scales. So once again, look for areas of intersection within your school, within your community, and try to think outside of the box. Strategic thinking. Any business school's course on strategy will give you the two main elements: exploiting your current advantages and exploring for new ones. It's not surprising to find that exploitation requires concentration on the job at hand, where exploration demands open awareness to recognize new possibilities and creating opportunities. However, exploitation is connected to the brain's reward circuit. In other words, it feels good to coast along in a familiar routine. We all do like our routines. I know I like mine. So when you switch to exploration, to roam widely and pursue fresh paths, you have to make a cognitive effort to disengage from that routine and maintain open awareness. Creative thinking. Thinking creatively involves 3 forms of focus: vigilance, attention, and open awareness. Vigilance is remaining alert for relevant information while immersing yourself in all kinds of input. Selective attention is focusing on one thing while filtering out everything else. And open awareness, which we've discussed earlier, allows you to stay mindful and maintain an open mind. The classic model of creating thinking shows how to use each of these. First, you use vigilance to gather a wide variety of pertinent information. Then you alternate between intense concentration on the problem at hand and letting your mind wander freely, as you might in the shower or going out for a run. That's where the open awareness, that would be an example of open awareness. Being an authentic, inspiring, focused leader doesn't merely mean concentrating on the biggest priorities of the year or being in tune with the culture. It means commanding the full range of your own attention. With diligence, you can cultivate focus on yourself, focus on others, and on the wider world. As a result, you will be able to direct your attention and others' attention where you need it. Thank you. I am going to see if there are any questions or comments. Okay. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for being with us here. The presentation, the webinar is being recorded, so I will put the PowerPoint, the video and audio on our website. Thank you everyone so much for joining, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Have a great day.